Okay, there we go. I kind of did that backwards. So anyway, Shawn here from the Ollin group. Welcome to, we can call it Motivation Monday or whatever. I'm trying to be on here regularly, like I mentioned recently. I don't know if it'll be every week or every other week, but somewhat consistently anyway. And what the whole purpose is to hopefully bring you guys a little bit added value. If you're watching this live or watching the recording, either way, my intention is to just kind of share some nuggets here and there, things that I might do with coaching clients. If you are a client, if you've been a past client, a future client, not a client at all, whatever, but things that you could use to, elicit some change, create some new momentum, maybe a potential breakthrough, maybe some transformation. So anyway, the topic this week is why hockey is important to you. And one of the most powerful questions you can ever ask. And let's start with the hockey part. So my middle boy, who is turning 18 in May, he's been a phenomenal goaltender in hockey for the past several years. He started when he was 13. He started a little bit late, but rose very, very quickly. In terms of skill, a lot of natural talent. He actually started when we lived in Thailand, of all places. His very first tournament, he won gold. His team won gold, which was cool. I was back in Thailand, and it was country versus country back there. It was Singapore. He actually played for several teams. The goalies were in demand, so he played for Bangkok, so Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. All these different teams. Lots of expats over there. Had a really great start. And he came back to Canada, got going. We got him into goalie camps year after year. He rose up in the house league, got into, never quite played with the tier, but he made the AP position, and was called up for several games, lots of practices with them. Had lots of opportunities, like he was offered should have banked on the name. Basically a special a camp to showcase goalies. All these wonderful things that he's gone through. Numerous tournaments, things like that he's done very, very well in. He actually, funny enough, in Thailand, he got a gold medal for his first tournament. His final tournament, because turning 18, he becomes an overager, right? So his final tournament, he ended up with a gold medal as well, just a couple weeks ago. So really kind of cool, full circle. And the last two games this past weekend, that's why I want to bring this up, were just amazing. Like the whole team played phenomenally together. Dakota, he had my son, he had so many stops, so many puck stops, so many saves. Just beautiful hockey, really, really great. A lot of fun to watch. And the reason I bring this up is because, he is an example of what can happen when you really decide to pursue your dreams, your goals, your vision, whatever it is. I'm more leaning towards the dreams kind of area. Oh, by the way, if you're on here live, make sure to say hi. If you're watching recording, leave a comment. Say what you like most, whatever. I always love feedback. But anyway, when you're, so many of us, we'll set goals. And as Tony Robbins says, he talks about laziness. He says it's not so much that people are lazy, it's that they set impotent goals. So a lot of people, maybe set goals and don't quite reach them. So they don't, maybe they haven't created enough of a spark in you. By the way, if you want to look at goals and vision, watch some of my previous videos the last few weeks. We talk about that. But anyway, we're looking at, what does it take to really hit those goals or beyond. So a lot of my clients, when they first start, they'll stay with me for quite often for years, because they set these big goals for themselves, a financial goal, let's say, or a relationship goal, or an inner goal. So like, more confidence, etc. And not only do they hit the goal, but they, more often than not, they'll surpass that goal. And part of the reason is that most of us, if we struggle in any area, in certain areas, in all areas, in some areas, quite often it's because there's a number of factors, obviously, and everyone's different. But if I generalize a little bit, one of the things that I find is very, very critical and different for people who really, really succeed. Like my son did in his hockey career, went very, very, again, maybe not all the way to the top. Originally, he had kind of set that as a goal, but he changed his goal partway. He switched over to his primary passion is competing in Muay Thai now. So hockey kind of became second place. But anyway, he hit all his goals there, essentially by asking himself the right questions. See, most of us, if we're stuck, especially, if we have repetitive patterns like procrastination or avoidance or indecision or depression or stress or anxiety, it's because we're focused on the wrong things and we're asking ourselves the wrong questions. So, for instance, people might say that they've come and run into a big problem, maybe a lack of cash flow, and they say, oh my God, why is this happening? What is this happening? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Things like this. These are the wrong questions. So really, the people who succeed, and this is going to be a short one today because I want to get right into it for you guys. Leave you with the powerful question. So again, the people who succeed because of the quality of the questions that they ask themselves. So let me say that again. The people that succeed do so because of the quality of the questions they ask themselves. Moreover, they succeed because of the narrative that they have too. Most of us are caught in quite often, very disempowering narratives. And those narratives are largely unconscious. We're not aware that we're telling them. So when we learn how to ask the right questions, we start to shoot the holes through those limiting narratives and move towards better and better outcomes. First, by having better and better emotional states. Well, let me put it this way: not just it's not about being positive and feeling good all the time. It's about being very, very aware. So we're aware of positive emotions, negative emotions, but we're able to move through them because of the questions that we ask. As a result, our behavior changes. The quality of those actions that we take changes. The results we get change. So this is why hockey is important to you. It's a good example of what's possible when you ask the right questions. When you're willing to go beyond your narrative, when you're willing to go beyond the limiting beliefs, limiting emotional behavioral patterns that we all have. Honestly, unless you're Jesus or the Buddha, we all have them. So the question is, how soon can we get through them, and how much are we going to let them rule our lives? A lot of people go to their graves without ever really making enough change in those areas so that real fulfillment continues to elude them. Happiness, sure, different things like that, but that real deep down in the gut kind of fulfillment. Now, why do people ask the wrong kind of questions? Well, a lot of us act from, like I said, a limiting narrative, but what is that limiting narrative? It really is essentially a scarcity kind of mindset. A fear-based mindset. Now, we might not feel afraid. We might just be making somebody who makes excuses. For instance, let's say you're a realtor and you say, well, no, it's not me, it's the market. It's the market, right? Or let's say you're a restaurant owner. Oh, it's not me, it's just there's no time. So it might not sound fear-based, but underneath, if we break it down psychologically, there's really only two limiting beliefs that we all carry, every single one of us. If you're human, you have them. And they're very unconscious for most of us, unless we've created a story or a narrative out of them. But essentially they are, if I try and do this, whatever this is, if I try and I fail at it, then I won't be enough. That's number one. If I'm not enough, then I won't be loved. That's number two. We all share these fears. And a lot of them, here's a really good indicator that you're caving into one or both of these fears. You're operating from these fears. You're failing to take action towards what you want. End of story. So if you're procrastinating, if you're avoiding, if you're indecisive, if you're not taking action towards what you want, you're operating from fear, even if you don't feel afraid. So using hockey as an example, and the idea of really realizing our goals, going beyond those goals, maybe surprising ourselves with what we're capable of achieving, of accomplishing, of becoming. Here's the one question, probably one of the most powerful. There's a couple of very, very powerful questions, but this is one of the most powerful. So I want you to write this down and ask it of yourself whenever you have a moment whenever you're faced with a decision, whenever you find yourself falling into one of these patterns, these behavioral patterns like procrastination, or emotional patterns like stress and worry and doubt, ask yourself the following: if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? I'm going to repeat that. If I wasn't afraid, what would I do? That question will always point you in the right direction. Now, we're not talking physical fear, like your life is in danger kind of thing. We're talking psychological fear, that fear based on that narrative and those two core fears that I mentioned. And again, even if you don't feel afraid, you might just feel neutral. But I can guarantee you, if you're not taking action towards what you want, you're facing one or both of those fears, unconsciously at least. So then you ask yourself, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? And as long as the answer isn't, detrimental to somebody else or yourself, that's the caveat. It'd be easy to go in that direction for some people at certain times. So as long as it's not detrimental, in which case you're not really asking it properly, you're going with kind of the whim response versus the deeper, truer response. A part of you knows, by the way, a part of you knows the answer. If I wasn't afraid, what would I do? That will always point you in the right direction if you ask it with sincerity. So that's it, guys. That's your homework. So if you're watching this, leave me a comment. Give a thumbs up. Share the video out. I notice probably because I haven't been on here consistently, I haven't been getting the same kind of turnouts. But I am trying to get back on here. So I do appreciate it if you can, leave a comment, share it out, do whatever. If you want some help in, establishing goals or moving beyond them, actually seeing what you're capable of. So for instance, in business, if you want help doubling or maybe even tripling your income, I can help you do that. If you want help overcoming stress, worry, anxiety, depression, it's an area that I specialize in. So let me know. You can message me, you can call me, you can click one of these links here in the description to find out more. There's a free ebook, link to the new pricing for the bronze package, the beginning package, 3-month package, $600 savings if you're interested. You can check out my artist page as well, or like I say, reach out if you'd like a complimentary 60-minute session. We can chat, find out where you're at, see what you need, and see if it's a fit to work together. So again, it's Shawn K. Carpenter with the Ollin Group. Happy to see you guys here. I do hope to hear from you on the comments or in person or whatever the case might be. So with that, you guys have a great afternoon. Cheers.